Yes. Welcome to this week's XP Weekly, where we bring the highs and lows of running numerous service-based businesses and property development businesses to you, the viewer, across YouTube and podcast platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, all those good places. We run 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses, and in these weekly episodes, we talk about everything that's going on within the week. Stuff that you can learn from and stuff that basically is going to help you to grow your business along the way. So got a jam-packed episode. As always, the agenda for today is talking about how you go from one-person businesses to then growing a team and actually getting to where the likes of we are. So, we both started somewhere, both Jack and I. We now have over 30 people in amongst the ecosystem of businesses that we run. And I had a really interesting conversation this week with a one-to-one consultee that we've been working with about how to go from that solopreneur stage to actually stepping out of the day-to-day and building a team. So I'm sure this resonates with a lot of people tuning into this. So hopefully you can get some value from it. Jack's going to be talking about a financial S-curve and what it is. Talking about building teams. We're going to then be talking about how we engage with our team, what you guys can do to engage with your team members and have as solid a business as you possibly can. And then actually what we haven't done in a long time, for those that are new listening, is necessarily go through each of the businesses that we do run. We've got the XP ecosystem from surveying practices, architectural practice, investment development, property management, all of these good things. And we're just going to be spending probably 5 minutes on each, just so that people that haven't tuned in before know where we're coming from, know the types of things we get up to. And hopefully people can get some value seeing how you can vertically integrate different businesses to feed into each other. Company values, we want you to tell us what you think our company values are. And then I've got some tips at the end, or general discussion really around how people set themselves up for this time of year, which is always busy for accountants. It's self-assessment time. 31st of January, I think next week, is the deadline for self-assessment tax return. So yeah, I just wanted to discuss how I do it, how Jack does it, and how maybe you guys can do it too. And we've got loads of questions at the end today. So that's great. We've had lots of questions coming in, and we would love to have, more questions as we progress. So get your comments in down below.
Good. A short ask for all of you. In this episode, we will be talking about XP Group's core values as a company. Obviously, I am going to come on later with what core values are, why they might be important for your business, etc. But what I'd love for you guys as listeners to help us with is I would love to ask you, put it in the comments section, particular words that sort of resonate with, this is obviously quite risky because you guys might go in hard on us, but certain words that resonate with XP to you. So you might be thinking that we're fun, you might be thinking that we're intuitive, you might think that we're creative. All of these are particular examples, but we actually want to put it to our listeners because we did this exercise with our team, and I'll be sharing the results later in this episode today. And I have also got 3 values that I submitted with my Goldman Sachs application. So we are asking you if you could put it in the comment section, whatever word works for you, please put it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But we'd love to hear our listeners what your views are on core values. And then if you're not listening live, still put them in there, because we're going through this process of asking our team, ourselves, our, people that observe us, people that we work with, stakeholders, investors, etc. So we'd love to hear what your listeners' views are from our business's core values. So just put it in the comment section, 1 word up to 3, up to 5 words, whatever you want it to be, and hit us where you think we are. And we'll come back to in the section to say what our employees thought and also what I think. And then also we'll hopefully compile some comments to share what the collective have thought too. So we'll come back to that later, but get your comments in now. You're on mute, Ben.
Technical problems. I've just changed my camera, and is that better? Can you hear me?
Yeah, the mic's good. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, cool. So this is a very common story that I hear. You know, you're an architect, or you're an engineer, or you're a technician of some kind, and you want to then go out on your own. You're a solopreneur. You want to build a business, and but it starts with you. You can sort of see the image on the screen. It's one guy on the phone drinking coffee on the mouse. You know, he's basically doing everything within the business. He's got 8 arms, and you know, that's what it feels like when you're on your own running a business. And I had a one-to-one mentorship meeting with Callum this week. Shout out to Callum if you're listening. And he's an architect. He jumped ship in May last year. He's doing really, really well to get to where he is currently. But he's doing everything, and he wants to stop, and he wants to grow a team, and he wants to know how to get to the next step. So, you know, having built Aura from that to now having a team of 15 people, and you know, me not really doing a huge amount day to day in that business. Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty well placed to kind of help Callum, and there'll be a lot of people in that similar boat. And the sort of stuff I want to talk about on this is stuff that came out of the session with Callum, and ways in which I think you can set yourself up for success going forward if you are looking to build a team. So the first thing that we spoke about was hiring. When you're busy in a business on your own, you're doing absolutely everything. The first hire that we always talk about getting in any business is some form of administration help. All of the stuff that you think only takes 2 or 3 minutes, but when you add up all of those 2 or 3 minutes, you know, you're probably talking hours throughout the day that could be outsourced to someone else. And we talked about a good book. This is a good book recommendation. I think we've spoken about it before, but it's Who, Not How. And it's all about who can you get to do this work, not how do I do this work. So Who, Not How is a great book, and a great way of learning to delegate, which is a massive art. And when you're certainly a technician in your role, you're used to doing the doing. Taking a step back and now becoming a business owner who has to run a business is a completely different mindset. So first hire, definitely administration help. And that doesn't have to be like a full-time person. We spoke about on Tuesday with Callum about the first couple of things that he can outsource very quickly is bookkeeping. He's just moved over to Xero, which is a financial accounting software, which again we use and would massively advocate using. But you could spend £150 on a bookkeeper a month, and that just takes away all of the hassle of invoicing and chasing our payments and reconciling accounts and providing management account reports and things like that. When I first started Aura, I also got some ad hoc help and support from some HR assistants. So again, I actually rolled that HR and bookkeeping up in one person, and she still does work for me now. So, you know, that I think at the time was maybe £200 for make sure I'm getting all my HR stuff in play, ready for when I want to bring on and hire new people, helping with the bookkeeping as well, and just being on hand, just, you know, make sure that from a company setup perspective, you're all, you know, hunky-dory from that perspective. So definitely first hire being admin. Another thing we discussed going from a solopreneur to building a team is starting to set up systems and processes. And a great way of doing that is utilizing something like Loom Video, which I think we might have mentioned last week in our sort of tech apps that you can use within any business. But Loom Videos are an amazing way of creating standard operating procedures for benign tasks that you just have to do. We talked about with Callum his fee proposals, for example. He doesn't need to actually write the fee proposal. It's templated. All that really needs to go into that fee proposal, the key information. And I asked him, you know, where do you write down the information from your phone calls with clients? And so I've got my notepad. I was like, okay, why don't you use something like Asana, a project management tool, for example, to type in the details that you would have otherwise written down in your notepad directly when you're speaking to the client, have a virtual assistant or something at the end of the Asana board managing that, to then take all of that information, put it into the fee proposal, so that all you really have to do is go in, read the fee proposal, check that it's okay, and send it out to the client. It's those sorts of systems and processes and operations that when you're starting to build a team, you need to try and filter out as much of the admin as you possibly can, as early as you possibly can. Jack,
a good example of that, Ben, is I actually used an analogy earlier. Love an analogy.
Oh, yeah, shock.
I was talking about a task for our lead surveyor and what that means for him to do that fairly sort of straightforward, low sort of value add task. And I said it's the equivalent of getting the head chef to do deliveries, because you're taking the head chef out of the kitchen from the real, the high value tasks, and delivering a low value task. So yeah, completely true.
That is exactly what you should be doing. You should be thinking about your hourly rate. Your hourly rate, should be higher than, as the business owner, your high value tasks are things like sales. And Callum said, I love sales. I'm really good at sales. Okay, well, why aren't you doing more of that? Well, because I've got stuff to do in the office. I've got admin. There was also the operations of the business. Like although he comes from an architectural perspective, he is doing a lot of the drawing work. And when it comes to things like technical design, it's very robotic. It's a very robotic process, i.e. most of your creativity is done within the planning process or the feasibility stage. Like that's where the creative juices get going. That's where you submit your planning application. And this is relevant to any business. There's often parts of it that need your brain and creativity and sales and negotiation skills that maybe other people might not have. But then there's also the stuff that is more robotic, purely process driven, that you can find someone else to do it for you. And that's the who, not how. Who can I get to do this? How can I delegate to someone? There was I felt like a massive fear within, or a bit of a block as well within Callum, and I'm sure there's plenty of like one-man band businesses, two-man band businesses out there that have a similar mindset whereby I said, if you've got a business assistant in your business, they field the calls. They're the original people that speak to the client. And that was like, but I should be the one speaking to the clients. I should be the one doing that. And there's time for that. And absolutely, there's no reason why that admin person can't initially field the call, gather information for then you to ring up if necessary. But that administration person should be more than capable of understanding the business, selling the business to a certain degree, and fielding those initial calls. But there was a real mindset block of I need to be the one taking the initial phone call when it comes in, and that's really not the case. And if you are going to grow your business, you cannot be the one answering the phones all the time. It's just not going to happen. So you may as well start setting your business up from scratch with that sort of mindset. And that's fundamentally what I did with Aura. I was like, what systems and processes can I put in place to remove myself from the day-to-day as fast as possible? And it is a massively different mindset, especially when you come from a technical, expertise where you're used to doing the do. You have to have a different mindset. You have to be listening to things like this, reading business books, all that type of stuff, to hone your skills as a business owner, and as a leader in that business, not just an operator. And I think, the other book recommendation I gave him was the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. So if you haven't read that, that's all about going from a solopreneur to a
I think I've actually got that on my Google Drive if anyone wants that. That
the
book. I've actually gone the complete opposite way with what you were just saying, and I actually look at my phone when people are calling me and think, why do they deserve to call me? Like this, I sometimes feel like my time doesn't warrant to pick up that phone call.
Yeah,
I've gone completely, because it'll be like, a speculative call from a broker that I know I won't be using, and I literally look at my phone and be like, hang up. Like, why?
Yeah. I generally don't answer my phone unless I know who it is nowadays. And there are some times where people think I'm rude, actually, when I pick up the phone and it's a cold call and I literally don't let them finish like five seconds worth of words. I just hang up, and people are like, well, what? That's really rude. I'm like, well, no, they're invading my time. I didn't ask for this call. It's not really of no interest to me. And I could probably spend another 30 seconds being like, no, maybe not. And then, it's a waste of time. Just hang up. Anything else do you think, from going from a one person business to building a team, what are the key things can you think of?
Yeah, I think it's really important to actually build up. So one thing we did in Goldman Sachs, and Ben and I have always done it from day one, is like an organization chart of your staffing and roles responsibilities today, and then what it looks like in the future. So you can piece the right people in at the right stages. It's really difficult, like Ben talking about Cameron, thinking about how many fee earners against operational people you're going to have in, because the operational people need to balance the amount of revenue coming in from a fee earner perspective. And what we did is we've hired operationally when it's just too much. And that's actually the wrong way to go about it. You should hire ahead of time. And weren't very good at forward planning that. We were thinking about fee earners first. And then we go, why are we doing this? We need someone in to help and pick up the backlash. And that's why now we've got an estate manager to hopefully enable the handover of all the stock that we're delivering at the moment with a simple process. So it's not pulling our, high value technical project manager into, my heating's not on or whatever it may be. So yeah, forward planning that hiring process is important, because if you're just hiring to get a bum on a seat because you really desperately need it, you might not be getting the best talent for that. And it does take time to get the good talent in the business. So I'd say like now and then is really important. Ben's
Nice.
already touched on the first hire. I had a guy shadowing me the last 2 weeks. Shout out to Dill. And he sort of said to me, he actually said to me this week, I think you need another assistant. But his question to me was, when do you hire an assistant? I said, when you hire someone. And that was it. Just like, when is when. And I was like, do it sooner rather than later. So what else is going from? So yeah, I think Ben's touched on it from like building processes. And actually me and the lads were talking on Ground Up, and they said a billionaire, his fifth rule to being a successful business owner is hire your replacement. And that is quite a difficult thing to do, especially as a business owner. You go through like the phases of like a solopreneur is the business. And that is a non-saleable business. And we've talked a lot about books, but Built to Sell is a great one to show that a solopreneur business is not a saleable company. But if you move into a saleable business, it's normally one that you are doing the new business and creating sales, but you are not the fundamentals or the growing of the business. Nice. And then acknowledging sort of critical mass. You've got to, when you're talking about the team size, you've also got to look about the size of the business once you are a successful, bigger company. So I would say that all of our businesses are either small to medium. None of our businesses are huge yet, or a large business. And they all need different types of people in different types of places. And if you're going to a large business and you make one hire, they might want to bring in a team. So thinking about the next stage, who's going around and sort of filling those roles.
I think, sorry, I had one more thing just to end on this topic, is the first thing you need to understand is what you actually want from your business. And I felt like Callum was quite clear. Like, he actually didn't want to build a massive team because ultimately he actually wants to move into development, but he wants to build a team enough that he isn't basically doing 100-hour weeks, and he has the chance or opportunity to take a Wednesday off if he really wanted to. Because he knows that the work is still going to get done in the background with his team. So yeah, understanding actually what you want from your business, and then making a plan for it. And if you watch our, I think, first episode of 2025, it was all about kind of setting goals and using our strategy on a page templates to plan out, actually what you want from the business, what you want from yourself, and how you're going to get there. So yeah, do tune into that if you haven't seen it already. Cool.
That's a super key one.
Yeah.
What you want to do. Cool. Onto a financial S-curve. Not even really sure why it's called an S-curve, because as you can see, my artistic flair came into action this afternoon, and I actually got 100% at GCSE and A-level art. And I hear you ask the question, why? This is why, ladies and gentlemen. So Ben was mocking me for my squiggly line, but this is my best attempt of drawing, as in two words there. So drawing with hand by drawing with sort of taking down deposits from a finance lender from a development perspective. So Tom and my team wanted to understand how our finance works on our spreadsheet. So I did as Ben mentioned, a recorded Loom call, so anyone in the company can watch it in the future. But I basically went top to toe about everything. So debt, leveraging, the equity piece coming in, how we charge finance to a project. Because quite frankly, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, he didn't have a clue how it works, and why should he? Because all he does is drawdowns with the bank, and he's a project manager. So his job is to build the projects, as best quality as fast as possible, but not really much to do with the financing. But I actually think opening his mind to the finance side of things really helped. But So when we were talking through it, it's very straightforward. I was like, the bank take like 70% of the total capital stack. The investment, whether it's with us or an investor, is the rest. The way it's drawn down is like 60-70% on purchase, and then the investor money comes in, and then we draw down the bank facility thereafter. The bank charge in and out fees as well as a rolling annualized fee. The investment can either be obviously a coupon or it could be a joint venture. And we then got on to the lovely topic of an S-curve of the development facility, which is probably the most important part for Tom, because it's basically the cost of finance while you're delivering the project. The bank fund the first part, which is the full duration of the project, which is the purchase finance, that goes in the day that you buy it and comes out the day that you pay that last flat down or whatever it may be, or refinance. Whereas the development facility is quite a convoluted process to estimate what that's going to cost. And that part is called the S-curve. I've worked with and/or met brokers that don't even understand this. And it is really straightforward. And that's not actually because it's really, really complicated, it's just negligence by understanding detail and asking those questions. Because I want to know, because at the end of the day, if the cost of finance costs us something, we want to know exactly what that's going to cost us. But the growth, so the bottom axis is the length of the project between start of build and exit, so refinance or sale of the last year. And the upright column is how much money you've borrowed. And what you tend to do is you borrow chunks of funds. This one is showing 4 chunks of funds that you've borrowed up. That might be 100, 200, 300 or 50K as a HMO refurb. In the drawdown process where you've proven that you've done that amount of work, you've got the monitoring surveyor to site, they've produced their report, bank have signed it off, and then you draw down the funds. So in this particular example, we've borrowed 4 chunks of money. It doesn't really matter what it is, up to 100% of the build costs. And that's what we've borrowed. Where the complexity is, we've now got to sell 10 apartments that incrementally pay that development debt and the original purchase debt down, because the loan to value has stayed consistent across the two. And the reason that the bank pay down in chunks is to stay on the more cautious side of the loan to value or loan to gross development value at that point, or even loan to cost. And then the chunks that get paid down, normally banks are happy to forego that you take profit on sales, which normally pay back the investor, or if it's just yourself, but that their loan to value maintains the same. So if they're at 70% loan to or 70% loan to GDV, they will let you release maybe 30 or 20% of that as you go through the sales. So as you sell units, you're paying them down in chunks. Obviously, a refinance stays flatter for longer, and then you pay it all down in one hit. Now, to calculate this is an absolute logistical nightmare. The reason being, you don't know the day you're drawing down to accrue the interest for that. You don't know how long the delivery is going to take, because it's to some degree an estimated period of time frame. You don't know how quickly the sales are going to fall through. You might have a longer period of marketing and then sell 3 in 1 week, and you have to draw an assumption. And the way that I like to explain this, and how I explained it to Tom, is if this was a solid bit of something and you melted it down, it would fill that graph linear halfway across the curve, which is basically why we take an estimate of 50% of the finance costs. So it's basically showing that the half of the finance cost is where it's at. So what we do is we take the finance rate. So let's say your bank are charging 12% per annum. This is an example. You typically halve that, so 6% for the total build costs. And then we actually add a 1% contingency just to be on the safe side. And that runs for the duration of the build and sales. So let's say you started building and you're selling in 12 months time, but the whole project takes 18, so 6 months getting detailed design and bits and bobs like that. But your build and sales is 12 months. So let's say 6 months build, 6 months sales. You will take the total amount you're borrowing, like 300K and build, for an example, times it by 6%, add the contingency on, so times it by 7%. And then you obviously, so that's 7% per year, divide it by how many months you've done it, and then get your annual, your monthly rate of that cost. So if it's taken 12 months, that'll be 7% of that total 300 grand that it's cost you. So that adds on to your purchase finance and all the other finance costs that are in there. I hope I explained that okay. We do have a finance calculating comparison sheet if anyone would like that. Just comment finance spreadsheet in the comment section. but I try to explain that as best I can. But that is an S-curve and how we analyze it. But the analogy, of flubber, melting flubber down.
Nice, I liked it. Cool. You do this one. I'll start the next one.
Cool. So I'll actually come on to, I see the comments coming in referring to the company values that you're all saying. So we've got one from Miles here, which says attention to detail. Love it. We've got Peter in here in summary. We've got trust and responsibility. Really, really good. And then is it Baber? Transparency, which is good. Very nice. Keep them coming. Keep some values coming in, because the photo on the left there is actually post-it notes of the company values exercise that we did. But anyway, company review and a quiz. What is it? So a lot of our very good listeners out there that are tuning in at the moment probably understand our businesses and what we do in our businesses really well. A lot of our team are so busy with the day-to-day and want to get ahead, want to get their head into the weekends. They don't believe it or not, sit and watch this every Friday night.
They should be.
Friday. They're sick of us. Thanks, Tom. Collaboration in there. Very good.
You should have written flubber.
He is. I mean, it's comical because he wrote collaboration, and we're just saying how our staff don't listen in. But anyway, our staff are bored of us by the end of the week, so they don't tend to tune into these shows or even sometimes understand what's going underneath the bonnet. And there's obviously certain things in business that we'd rather share with our team in person, like where we are, where we were, where we are, and where we're going. They're three really important things any business owner needs to understand. So what we do, because we have multitude of businesses, multitude of teams, all of the team know each other, but they don't necessarily engage and work with each other daily, but they might do. So that opportunity to understand the sort of concept of the ecosystem, which we refer to quite a lot, and what other people are doing, and that might push new opportunity, that might enable people in the company to move into a different company. So we actually had an employee this last year left one company and moved into another. So that is also another fact. But we want to do these company reviews where Ben and I and Rob pull together basically where we were, where we are, and where we're going for every company, so that everyone can get a bit of an idea of what we're doing, and essentially ask questions, prize questions. So, say, why are we doing that? Why are we going that way? Understand the bigger picture around things. What we've often found is, our team are in the business working really hard every day. And the last thing that we want them to feel like is they're the least informed. So we want them to be very strategically up to date. We want to understand the integration in the businesses and changes that we might be coming up in the next few months. So an example of a change is back in 2023 and 2024, we had a lot of conversations, probably near on over 50 conversations with funds to back our business. We decided to dial that back down and work with private high net worth investors. And that's obviously quite a large change from an investment backing perspective for our team to acknowledge. So we've then obviously brought out a new sort of system and process and product for that change. And now everyone's on board and understands. Where it's also beneficial is if our surveyor understands, our measured surveyor understands what we do from a development perspective, they might bump into someone on a construction site, and get their contact details for a potential deal. So it's all about those things. And actually, our lead surveyor did put a deal onto us, which we didn't end up doing. But that's a concept of them understanding what are the other businesses for opportunities that might present themselves. So we did a full company review, went through every business. It enables, I very rarely sit down and go, what's Aura up to, Ben? And then when he's sort of doing this, I can ask questions and maybe give some advice, and vice versa for Central Suite. So it's really good to sort of brainstorm ideas and think about things really sort of in a relaxed environment, and have no sort of expectations of, it's just basically a long informal chat, which we love. And, one thing that is really, really great about these is we had 2 people in XP and XP surveys, and we had I believe 2 people in Aura. We record the brand new into the company, so they're like fully caught up on the binge-worthy episodes that they've been missing, and they kind of understand everything a lot more detailed. And that time, which was probably 3 hours that we spent going through everything, will be over and over again repetitiously repaying dividends back into the business. We also record them so that can be shared with new members. So if we have a new starter next week, it doesn't matter that they missed going through this. Obviously, there isn't live questions they can ask there and then, but they can actually ask questions about the recording once they've caught the recording. So normally, once someone's done their induction, the first thing I do is tell them to go watch the last review, and it brings them up to speed with what everything's going on. And it's good fun. We make jokes and have a beer towards the end, and then we then went on to do a pub quiz to sort of decompress, take out the I suppose the seriousness, if there was any carrying, and also ask people, what their highlights were. That was one of my key things I like doing after. Just be like, what did you learn? What were your highlights? What were your reflection notes? What you're intrigued about? And it sort of all feeds out of conversations over the next coming days. And it's really interesting for people to go, I didn't know that, or I didn't understand that, and now I do. And it's good. It's really good. It's sharpening the tools so that we operate and cut more efficiently.
Nice. Cool. And we thought, because we had our strategy week this week, our strategy day, that we would, for those that don't know much about what we do, give a quick 5 minutes on each of the 5 businesses that we run. So we talk about the ecosystem of businesses that we run all the time. It's a vertical integration of separate limited companies, separate businesses that do their own thing, have their own profit margins to hit, have their own team, but come together and work collaboratively to form this ecosystem that Jack and I run. So we're going to sort of go through each of them, and hopefully you find it useful. It's a good opportunity for us to share some of the work that we are currently working on and the types of things that we're looking to do. So if, for example, somebody that has a house extension in London that needs a basement designed, we could do that for them. XP Surveys could survey it for them. So yeah, hopefully it sparks a few things in the listeners that you can use our services or work with us in some shape or form going forward. So we'll start with Aura. Aura's been around for 8 years now, sort of since I left the Berkeley Group full time. We operate in 3 main areas. That's residential architecture. So 70% of our business is with private residential homeowners. Generally, our sort of sweet spot contract value is like £400,000 to £600,000, which is typically where someone's moving out of a house. We're extending it up, extending it out, extending it as much as we can, refurbishing all the interiors. Then 9 months later, they move in and they've got a brand spanking new house, and it looks something like this, which looks incredible. So that's the residential.
Did you almost say extending it in then?
Extending it, I ran out of
extending it out, extending it out, extending it.
I should have said extending it down. The second one is the interior design element. That's something that we're doing a lot more of recently. We've got Gabby and a couple of the other team who absolutely love the interior design side of things and create some fantastic homes for our clients. So we are looking to do more of that, and that's not necessarily coupled with the architecture piece anymore. We are offering standalone interior design services now. So although I said kind of our sweet spot might be £400,000 to £600,000 contract value from an architectural perspective, from an interior design perspective, we've done 30 grand, home refurbishments where it's purely internal refurb and some fittings, etc. And then we've got property developments, which is obviously kind of what XP does, but we do lots of work for other property developers outside of XP. About 30% of our business is property developments, and that's anything from one-off new builds for a developer to 25, 30 unit schemes. We've done a lot of work in central London for a property developer called Lefroy. They do some fantastic stuff in Chelsea, Kensington, Fulham, etc. And yeah, we'd love to work with more people like that. This is the team. Like I said, in between sort of all of the people, including a couple of other freelance people, there's about 15 of us, ranging from Graham, who's my design and operations director. He kind of manages the day-to-day. And then we've got senior architects, interior designers, architectural technicians within the sort of fee earning side of the business. And then Dan, who's marketing manager, Claudine, who's a virtual assistant over in the Philippines, which helps with some back-end administration. And then Lorraine, who's the main business assistant, who is the one picking up calls, picking up emails, liaising with clients, customer relations, all that sort of stuff. This is the type of stuff we do. So this is a scheme that's hot off the press. It's based in Cheshunt, an amazing single-story rear extension where the client wanted a covered, sheltered, outdoor eating living space. They're South African. They love all that. You can see the barbecue there. It's an amazing space for them to use in the winter and the summer. And then in Fulham, this was for a property developer. Unfortunately, about a week after these photos, there was a leak from the water tank in the loft, and it literally caused over £100,000 worth of damage. The water obviously went all the way down through the building. Some of the ceilings caved in, and they had to do a lot of rectification work, which is super sad. But I think it's now back up to scratch, and hopefully they've now got this property sold. But it's an amazing. I think it was like what did it go on the market for? 3.5 million, something like that. It's just off the Fulham Road in Fulham, but really fantastic interiors, and a really swanky looking project. This is another one for a developer. Whole basement extension, turning it into a 6-bed house. Looks absolutely incredible, and there are some really good walkthrough video tours on our YouTube channel showing this project. And if you think you recognize it and you tune into Homes Under the Hammer a lot, it's because it was on Homes Under the Hammer. So if you want to find out what it looked like before versus what it now looks like, you can also tune in to Homes Under the Hammer. I don't know what the episodes are. Maybe I'll put them in the show notes, but it's on the BBC iPlayer. It's a project in Balham where we've got a nice Oriel window, some nice corner glazing. So these are the types of things we do. From private homes, we want to create fantastic work. Our sort of minimum contract value typically is like 150 grand now. We don't generally do just a bog standard single story rear extension with bifold doors and 2 Velux windows. We've sort of stepped away from that. We want to do amazing looking projects like that. And if you want to see some of those amazing looking projects, we're up to 4,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. We had over 250,000 people view our YouTube videos last year in 2024, which is ridiculous. When I saw that, I was like 262,000 people viewing our properties. So yeah, amazing. Check out some of the good stuff that we got on there. Do you want to do XP?
Sure. Do you guys know XP? So so XP is obviously a SME property development company based out of the home counties in London, founded by myself and Ben 7 years ago. Some good mug shots all over here of us doing our thing and pointing at things, probably pretty candidly. But our goal is to deliver 1,000 homes and £1 billion worth of property in the UK by collaborating with trusted investors. And a little clue there actually for the values: ambitious, transparent, and creative. Which
we've had a few of those already.
Labour has already said transparent. So love it. A little bit of blurb on the business, but where we see ourselves in best sitting in the market is we really do create value in acquisition, structuring, and the design delivery phase. So that's designing, enhancement, and value engineering, also the construction. And then from a sales perspective, obviously we want to be the best in the market for the cost that we're charging. Location wise, we keep it fairly sort of close to home, so within sort of 2 hours really. So Ben being located in St Albans and me in Oxfordshire, and some of the team in London, we're sort of around the sort of I call the honeypot of home counties and London. But we would consider sites further afield just on a planning basis, because obviously there's less need to go to site from a commuting perspective. That's it.
Yeah, actually, it's probably worth saying from an acquisitions perspective, the types of deals that we're looking for are GDVs ranging between 5 and 15 million is typically our sweet spot at the moment. Purchase prices 1 to 5 million. These are the areas, but that's the sort of values that we're looking for. So, if you've got a scheme that is maybe too big for you, or too small for you, either way, we would love to hear from you. Either on a collaboration perspective or simply kind of buying the site and delivering it ourselves. Cool. Third in the list is XP Surveys. So this is obviously the front end of every project that we work on. XP Surveys provides measured building surveys and topographical surveys to architects, construction professionals, interior designers, anyone in that built environment space. We also offer roof surveys, drone surveys, underground utility surveys, CCTV drainage surveys, basically anything that you need to start a project in terms of gathering site information. We can do it with XP Surveys. We built this instant quoting tool on our website. So all you need is the property address and select the services that you want. And we use API integrations and property data to then pull the information from that data set and use the size of your property and our pricing algorithm to effectively spit out an instant price immediately, really. Within 2 minutes, you can get a guide estimate price from our website. Do Aparo?
Well, I'll do CSL. You can do it. You can do Aparo.
Cool. So Aparo Social is our social housing portfolio. It's a partnership that we are 25% shareholder in. Our other 3 partners come from very different backgrounds, but ultimately the goal with Parasocial was to buy existing housing stock in Southwest London or South London, refurbish that housing stock, and then basically hand over the building to a registered housing provider on a 10 to 25-year lease so that they can occupy the building and tenant and house vulnerable tenants. The people that we house have mental health issues. They are ex-domestic violence victims, ex-drug abusers, ex-military that want to transition back to kind of a normal life where they can live independently. It's that transitional type living. So quite specialist care. And yeah, we've built over 140 beds in that 4-year period. We've literally just finished off our final asset and handing that over next week. That's a 13-bed HMO in Croydon, which ended up having 357 objections during the planning process, which we did manage to win at committee. But it's been a real battle, a real slog. We are, to a certain degree, kind of stabilizing the portfolio now, but we've learned a lot, and we've created some amazing homes for people. You know, it's when you look at the stock that we've created compared to some of the other stuff that I've seen from other landlords, you know, ours is way above the rest.
Yeah, Ben, there's actually a map of our stock if you want to just share that.
Oh yeah, sorry, that was a bit of a blur.
And
so
I
yeah,
actually wanted. And if you go on to the next page, there's actually the locations in South London. But I actually wanted to share a little bit of a story, which I did put at the end of the slides, but I can share it now. So an investor of ours contacted us because someone that he actually gave some money to that was you know, down on their luck and homeless. He started to chat to him and heard a bit of their backstory. But we actually did everything that we could to get them housed within our portfolio. And this was the message that was sent at 9:13 this morning. And I would like to say thank you for everything you have done. I'm really grateful for everything. Sleeping somewhere warm. I had tears in my eyes. Have you seen the weather outside? And this is someone that literally messaged this morning because we housed them yesterday. And it just goes to show that we're obviously quite a commercial outfit in other businesses, but it is nice to get those messages and to solve a crisis that is only getting worse. And let's just hope the government supports supported living, because it's needed. It's needed.
Yeah, nice. I mean, it is a venture and a portfolio that has amazing ESG credentials. You know, what we have created, I think, you know, it's we don't often get a chance to kind of pat our own backs, but you know, it is you know, the stock that we've created is fantastic. That being said, you know, it has been a long slog for the last 4 years, and it is something that we'd love to sell as a portfolio. You know, the portfolio value is circa £20 million. We are looking to kind of offload that. If you know people looking for low risk income, you know, relatively long-term secure income with the 10 to 25-year leases, it is something that we're looking to sell. So if you're interested, drop Jack or I a DM and we'll get you a pack sent over. Cool, over to you.
Very good, very good. So I believe last but not least, and you can kind of see how this gets confusing for staff or people around the business, like our families. There's a lot to go through, but Central Suites is a business that I set up with my brother, actually very similar timings to XP Property. It's a privately run HMO portfolio where we also flip houses and do management with other stock within the portfolio in XP and also within Central Suites. So our typical stock that we'll buy is we buy in high value market town areas around Oxfordshire. So that includes Abingdon, Henley-on-Thames, Caversham, Maidenhead, Marlow, now Wallingford. And we basically buy buildings that are typically quite tired and dilapidated. We add value through the construction phase, but also add value by converting it into, typically our average is a 6-bedroom HMO. We like to stay normally below 7 because there's no planning risk there. There's no Article 4 in areas that we operate, so we know that we can make a return that we set out to at the beginning without going above to 7 bedrooms. But by coincidence, on some assets we actually think this will work really well as a 7 or an 8 bed, and we put in planning after we know the figures work on 6 beds. By nature, we've also started flipping houses, but so by buying quite a few houses, we get offered quite a lot. So we decided turning them around. So any sort of motivated selling opportunity, or someone that's embarrassed to market their property, or just wants a very speedy sale, we've been very good at that. We actually bought from viewing to completion day before Christmas. We bought a property in 10 days. And that just goes to show that yes, we did get that at a discount, but we performed. And that was actually, we were the end buyer in a sub-sale, so it worked for everyone. So we're just getting it to start to build a reputation for being very good in a transaction. The reason we do those is because it's good cash flow, so it brings lump sums back into the business that we can then reinvest into overheads or into growing the HMO portfolio even greater. We also do portfolio building, where we partner up with private investors to build a portfolio shared with them, which has been something we launched in the market only about 9 months ago. And we've already got 4 partnerships agreed. 2 are already started. One's already got 2 properties in it, another one's got a second property, and then 2 that we're looking to deliver that. So it's a bit about Central Suites.
Nice. Cool. And if any of this excites you and you've got cash sitting around and you want to get into property investment, property development, but either don't have the time or skill set to do so, we have the time and the skill set to do so. So, we'd love to work with you from an investment perspective. Almost all of the projects that we work on are some form of joint venture with an investment partner. So if you're looking to invest anything between 50 grand and 3 million pounds, I can guarantee we can make use of that and give decent returns in return. So yeah, do reach out if you are looking to invest in property and want to discuss any potential opportunities. Cool.
So we've had some more comments in. There's another one from Tom, which I did just show earlier. So in this, the image that you saw of all the post-it notes, we actually asked our team, it's very difficult to say our business is this, because actually the people in the business every day are feeling different things and hearing different things. And, it might be emotions, it might be actions, it might be goals or whatever it may be. So we thought it would be good fun to actually put it to our team. And what we did is we gave every person in the team 3 post-it notes. I think there was 16 of us. So we ended up with, best part of 45 post-it notes with one particular phrase, word, sentence, feeling, goal, word that resonates them with our business. And the team, the most recurring ones that the team brought out was collaboration, honesty and transparency, which Balba said, and agile were the 3 top areas that came up. As part of my Goldman, I had to sort of narrow down ones that I was thinking of, and mine were creative, transparent again, ambitious. And interestingly, we did another exercise, and the XP team wrote ambitious as part of their purpose statement. So I could kind of see that ambitious and sort of agile, could be sort of merged into one there. But the purpose statement, Ben, you didn't get to see this exercise, but we did a full business plan on a page in words. Nice. And the value, the business proposition for XP that the XP team came up with, ambitiously doing our thing. And I thought that was really, really cute. It's quite soft, quite bold, but very easy to resonate with.
Yeah, get on with it.
Exactly.
Nice.
So anyway, so that's what we came up with, the team and myself, and now obviously we've had some more that have come in. So thank you, Miles, for attention to detail. Peter, trust and responsibility. That's kind of in there, overlapping a couple of the ones that we've already got. So really good. It's great to hear something that we've already got in the mix, because that just re-quantifies the sort of value of that particular task. And then RJ, agile, and Tom, collaboration. But thanks for everyone sort of engaging and commenting, because that means a lot. And if you are listening to this after live, we'd love to hear your thoughts of what you think, because
yeah, nice. I did have someone at a call with somebody earlier who said, these informative was the word that he used. Certainly for these lives every week, we do give a lot of value. It's all for free. You can see the back catalogue. We are very transparent in what we do, and we like we like the engagement, because it keeps us on our toes. So yeah, any questions, any burning desires within your business, do drop them down below, and do us an extra favor by liking the podcast, subscribing where you can, rating it, reviewing it. I had a message from City by Nights Architecture. I don't actually know your name. I might do, but it's not coming to my head. But yeah, avid listener, keep it going, gents. The content's great, so thank you very much. It's nice to get those things, but we want you to take it one step forward, and actually, if you do enjoy it, make sure you are sharing it with just one person that you think can get value from it, because that's going to help that momentum and start the algorithms doing their thing and getting it shown to more people as well. I think I'm going to skip this one and do it next week, because we've got some good questions at the end. And to be honest, I haven't made any notes and I'd rather do it properly than rush it. So let's jump into the questions. Quick definition of airspace, Dunstable. I saw that you're based over in the Isle of Wight. I can see there, can assist with your expansion. Do you know what we actually get? We've had in the past numerous requests for XP surveys to go over to the Isle of Wight and do some surveys. If you know anyone locally that we can pass those on to, absolutely, ping them across, because it is a regular request. Quick definition of airspace. I mean, airspace for me is basically, for example, like we talked about last week, a block of flats with vacant available air above it that you can develop in. So the airspace above something is available for conversion. I wouldn't call loft space airspace necessarily, because the space is already formed internally within the loft itself. It's for me sort of above a building and just developing within the space above a building. That's quite a long worded definition, but you get the point. Which one do you want to do next? Thanks for the value, chaps. Where did you find first builders? What was that process like, and how has sourcing your build team changed over the years? Yeah, very good question, actually. Recommendations is always something that I implore all of our Aura clients to do. Look at who's done work on the road, speak to your neighbors if they've just had some work done, ask them how it went, how timely were their contractors in terms of responses, how tidy was the site, how were they with problems. That's really where you want to understand how good they are. If there is a problem, you want someone that is pragmatic, that talks to you, that communicates, because that's what it's all about with developing and building works. It's about communication, and where things break down is where the communication is broken down. So absolutely get some referrals and recommendations. In terms of how our build teams changed, we've started doing bigger projects. So we're going from one man and his gang of builders down the road to fit out contractors, big contractors that have layers of management, better health and safety. There's really pros and cons between each. I actually much prefer working with Bob and his gang of builders, because I just feel like problems just get resolved there and then, and we don't have the bureaucracy and red tape of different layers of management that you have with bigger outfits. And I also think with bigger outfits, they're just generally there to find every variation they possibly can in the contract to charge you extra. So I do find it more difficult working with those types of people. Sorry, Jack, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, from HMO and like small house development perspective, we found Richard, who we've now done like over 20 projects with, on Facebook, on like Facebook recommendations.
Oh, did you?
And he was actually someone that I was concerned about going with, because he was so cheap. I was like, something's got to be up with his work. And believe it or not, he's been an amazing builder. So we thought, let's go with him. We looked at some other work, like Ben said, that he had already performed, and we've built up a really good working relationship with him. And I actually had to reference. He had an external client ask for a reference, and he said, "Can you do me a favor and have a chat with her to say that I'm all right?" And when I actually met with her, she was like, "Yeah, he was so cheap, I couldn't believe it." And I'm thinking to myself, the first thing I said to Richard after, I was like, "Put up your bloody prices. You'll probably win more work." But anyway, so don't necessarily think that just because something's the cheapest is because they're a bad egg. I will say the best contractors do quite frequently get snapped up really quickly, and you might have a 12-month lead time, and their costs might be right there. But there's other smaller contractors that are actually just just enjoy what they're doing and charge a very fair price. From a larger perspective, one thing we do is like a pre-qualification questionnaire, which Tom or Ben will do on the contractor, which enables you to actually get into the nitty gritty, tendering processes to go to multiple options and narrow down the best option. And when you're narrowing down the best option, it's going to revolve around the lovely triangle that I love to refer to, which is speed, quality, and cost. And when you've sort of narrowed down that particular contractor, the PQQ is a great way to do that, which helps you cost against their, how robust they are as a company, how they've communicated. You can even look at their balance sheet, how much other work they're doing, what sort of accreditations have they got, what insurances have they got in place. So with the bigger contractor, you obviously go into a lot more detail around that.
Nice. Cool. Jordan, thanks for the questions. Like the new intro. Thanks for that. Congrats on the bank purchase. Thank you very much. Jack, I've heard you say before that your rationale for not going for large 7+ HMOs is so you convert it back to, an AST sort of in 10 years time, for example. Does this outweigh the cost of leaving money on the table in the form of more rent, a commercial valuation based on a multiplier, and the cost / hassle of converting it back to a single let in 10 years time? Go.
Yeah, I mean, I've banged on along this one quite a lot, but basically, if you need over 7 beds, why are you not securing that deal subject to planning? Because there is an element of planning risk. So we like securing sites that are all day long, 4, 5, or 6 beds. The numbers work on paper. If we then convert it to a 7, great. We will do that, and we will get a commercial valuation. The principle of that is not all of our portfolio is based on a commercial compressed valuation yield play. The reason that we wouldn't want to do that across the whole portfolio is I've seen someone that set up a HMO portfolio in a particular location. Their value against bricks, it's valued about £200 a square foot bricks and mortar, and the actual discrepancy between yield valuations valued that bricks and mortar, the same bricks and mortar, up to about £600 a square foot just on the yield valuation. And then what happened is that market started to get saturated after it had been operating there for a few years, because more players come into the market, more people think it's a great place. They see the discrepancy that you're, taking a bricks and mortar house that's worth 180k and now it's worth 600, and you get all your money out and go again and again and again. And then what that happens is the room rates in the location drop because supply outfits demand. And what that then does is then puts your existing portfolio in negative equity. So what we're doing is we're taking a very long-term view to make sure that we're not rinsing and repeating commercial valuations too much to get ourselves in a position where one day the portfolio value is less than the mortgages that we have in place. So it's to prevent negative equity in that scenario. But I will do 7 beds and 8 beds and 9 beds. It just all depends on the sort of breadth of the market, the portfolio. But we have 2 7 beds and everything else is below that. So that's probably less than 8% of our portfolio is on a commercial valuation. So it's very low risk.
Nice. Cool. Just one more question then, because Dunstable was messaged in the chat. Watched your assisted sale video from during COVID this week. Really good webinar. Thank you. Got a couple of potential opportunities of this nature. Do we have a flipping spreadsheet you can share? Have you got a flipping?
We do. Yeah.
Cool. So
it's flipping brilliant.
Flipping brilliant. Message templates down below, and we'll get that sent out to you. If anyone hasn't watched that assisted sale video, definitely head over to our catalog on YouTube, because I think we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Since the budget announcement and the increase in stamp duty and all this sort of stuff, an assisted sale strategy is going to be massive going forward to relinquish and remove that type of barrier and increase cost. In a nutshell, essentially what you're doing is agreeing a joint venture with a homeowner, whereby you're not transacting and purchasing the property. You are just working with them to deliver the property and deliver the value within the property, and then taking a share of the profit on sale. So we did one in Basingstoke, very loosely. It was a 5-bedroom house. We had planning approval to turn it into 2 3-bedrooms. We didn't buy the asset. The client wanted 420 grand for it. Took it to auction. Nobody was paying 420. Put it on Rightmove. Nobody was paying 420. We said, we'll give you 420, but we want 6 months to do the conversion works to 2-bed flats, to 2 3-bed houses. And on sale, we want to split the profit with you. So ultimately we made, I think it was 80 grand profit within that deal. So instead of him not being able to sell his property for 420, he sold the property for 460 grand because he got 420 as a baseline. He took 40 grand off the profit, So he got 460 for something he couldn't sell for 26 months ago. And our 100 grand investment, which was what was needed to deliver the property, got a 40% return with 40 grand on the 100 grand spent. So assisted sales can be very powerful for you guys. Take a look at that video. It's it was done a while ago, but the info is still live and still relevant. So like you say,
maybe we'll pre-record that at some point, because that was a long time ago.
Dunstable,
could you please actually DM one of us with your email address so we can get those templates over to you?
Yeah, sweet, cool, perfect. Nothing else from me. Anything from you?
Nothing else from me.
Nice, sweet. All right, well, have a good weekend, everyone. As always, drop comments if you've got any questions after the fact. We will be looking at those through the next week until next week's episode. So get your questions in, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.